LENT. I remember 30 years ago when I first started taking classes at Unity, and I was raised Catholic, and they said, what if you use do you call that an acronym? Let's eliminate negative thinking. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds so much better than giving up candy or pop for 40 days. I think I can do that. Ha, ha, ha. It was easier to give up candy, right, than to try and stop negative thinking. And how that negative thinking creeps in, doesn't it? Let's eliminate negative thinking. You know, in Unity, and I haven't had a chance to talk about this since the beginning of Lent, Ash Wednesday, and Easter is about what? Is it about the crucifixion? No. What is Easter about? Resurrection, right? Rebirth. Some of you have been here for several Easters. It is about resurrecting to a new way of being. Jesus showed us that whole story is about us. And when we can realize that there is a huge roadmap in this whole story to the resurrection on how do we eliminate negative thinking? How do we resurrect to a new way of being? And let's go, I think, to that next slide there, Sandy, please. The tradition of Lent is a time for focusing on the heart, a time for asking questions about our own spiritual health. In Unity, we're all about asking questions, right? That's what I came to love when I first came here, was that they encouraged me to question the things that I had been taught all my life that were supposed to be true, but I only believed them because I was raised that when those teachers taught you that, it was fact, right? And if you questioned, in my case, I got in trouble. So I know you've heard me say this. I questioned, and then I would get in trouble from the priest or the nun, and then they'd call my parents. So when I got home, I'd get in trouble again. So, of course, I learned to go, even though inside was going, I don't agree with that one. I just don't think that's what God would do. And so here I am, at age 30-something, I walk into this church, and they're telling me to question everything. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is blasphemy in here. But yet, I loved what the minister was saying. I loved the freedom that she was talking about, and that God was love, and I was loved. No matter what I've done, no matter what I did last night, God loves me no matter what. And I still remember I was sitting right almost where you were, Maria, and I remember crouching down and thinking, you have no idea what I've done. If you knew, you would not say that to me. Right? And now look at me. Here I am. I would have never thought I'd be in this role. But I'm so grateful that I am in this role, because of all this questioning led me to my spiritual truth, more of my spiritual truth. I have the best relationship with my higher power. I call my higher power God. So I call it creator. I call it nature sometimes. I use all kinds of names because it represents to me that greater being, that greater source, the great spirit that the Native Americans talked about. I get it. And I have a better relationship now than ever before. So why am I telling you this? Well, because, I love the children's Bible way better than the bigger adult version Bible. Because, man, they took the New Testament and they just simplify it, right? So I came across that. Do you remember the story about turning? You cannot put new wine into old wineskins. And does anybody know that? Anybody have wine history, winemaking history of why you can't put new wine into old wineskins? Because the old wineskins will literally burst. That's a fact. Okay, in the fermentation process, there's bubbling that takes place, and there's expansion. And if you put new wine into old wineskins, the old wineskins have already been stretched, and so they don't have pliability anymore. So when the wine starts fermenting, old wineskins will burst. Okay, there's your little fact of winemaking. But Unity takes this story, just this little story, and it's in Matthew and Mark. So I chose Matthew. I didn't chose Mark because I kind of resonate to these guys, but it's basically the same words. No one pours new wine into old wineskins. The wine would swell and burst the old wineskins. Then the wine would be lost and the skins would be ruined. New wine must be put into new wineskins. Both the skins and the wine will then be safe. So metaphysically, which is what I love about Unity, we take the Bible and we use it as probably one of our most points of references. We use other world religions' texts as well. But I take that story, and how do you metaphysically interpret that? And what's it got to do with Lent? It has everything to do with Lent because it's about letting go of negative thinking. And you cannot, don't think about it this way. Don't stuff new metaphysical teachings on top of old belief systems or old attitudes. Now, do you see how that can be interpreted to mean something that applies to us today and has applied to us for eons? But what I love here is that Unity says, take this and expand with it. Question it. So put new spiritual wine, new spiritual ideas into a new wineskin, and that wineskin is putting it into an open mind. See, sometimes we take these teachings of positivity and love and compassion, but we put it into the old wineskin that still has fear and worry and doubt and anger and hate and resentment. And we start shoving these spiritual, wonderful ideas into this core of an old wineskin, and we wonder why it's not working. It's constantly emptying this vessel of fears and worries, emptying it so that you can fill this with new thoughts, new beliefs of love and compassion. And you wouldn't be here if you were not a person searching to have more love, compassion, peace, prosperity in all ways. Prosperity, and I'll say that till the cows come home, it does not necessarily mean finances. So quit correlating when you hear prosperity, they're talking about money. No, they're talking about all areas of your life. And that's how I want to see you, and I want to see me continue to prosper. And that's what the Easter story is about. The road to the resurrection, and you're probably going to hear this for the next 3 or 4 weeks still, because I've been saying it now for 12 and a half years, and I don't know if we still get it yet. That the road to the resurrection is a story of your life. It is a story of my life. And some days I'm not suffering as much. But a lot of days I'm still suffering. I'm still suffering when I go into a work environment or a situation and this church, runnings of a church is a business. So guess what? There's people in a business, isn't there? And people are going to show up as people. But I keep wanting to show up as supernatural human beings, highly evolved, like me. Huh. Now that's a joke. And that's the beauty of my job, is I get to see myself reflected constantly back to myself to remind myself, you still don't get it yet, Kathy. But I get it more than I don't. I get it more often than I don't. And so that's why people will say, I don't understand why you're smiling all the time. I can go and just look at my daughter right there, and I know if any of you have met my daughter or interacted with her, they'll say, oh my God, you're just like your mother, right? She hates when people say that. But I know that she does like that when they say, you're just like your mother, you always have such a positive attitude. Why? It's not that we took a special class. It's that we have keep practicing and practicing through the school of hard knocks. If you talk to me, and many of you know many of my stories, right? You talk to Christy and you would hear many of her stories of her childhood. Because remember, my kids traveled along with me through all of those traumas and dramas, right? It's what you do with what you have every minute of every day. It is about the way you look at it, the way you perceive it, the way you think it, and the way you act on it. Notice I didn't say react on it. Act on it. Act means you're using pause, pray. Oh, no. Stay there longer. Stay in the pause, stay in the pray as long as it takes. And then proceed. That's the key. That means you have to bite your lip. Don't call that SOB that just cut you out of traffic. Change it, right? It's so quick. We're so quick to react. Oh, my goodness. I got to keep going. I got to get going here. Let's go to the next one. I love this. Your mind shines brightest when you enlighten others. Your heart when you encourage others. Okay? I'm going to say that again. Your mind shines brightest when you enlighten others. Your heart when you encourage others. Your soul when you elevate others. And your life when you empower others. Think about that. Many of you are in the field of empowering others. Literally all of you are. Whether you do it in your career, or whether you do it in your family, you do it with your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors, you have that opportunity to empower others. You know, I may do a part 2 on this because there's a lot to this. I'm going to go to Winnie the Pooh. Have you ever seen the Tao, Winnie the Pooh in the Tao? Oh my gosh, which is the I Ching, okay, it's the way, Winnie the Pooh, the way, that's what the Tao means, okay? Here's his wisdom. I always get to where I'm going by walking away from where I've been. People, that's emptying the mind. That's throwing away the old wineskins and filling it with new. Filling it with things that you know and feel are truth. Don't take it just because somebody says it. Don't take it because Facebook says it so. Please. Check your resources. Just I love this. I can't get to where you're going, and this is Prosperity Plus. That's what we teach here. You can't get to where you're going if you're still bringing all this old belief systems with you, but yet you're saying, I want freedom. I want more wealth. I want relationships. I want a new job. I want to enjoy my retirement. I want to have a better relationship with my coworkers. But yet, you're still dragging this old wineskin with you. And then you go to bed saying, why is this working? Why isn't it working? You know, many, including me, have said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Maybe I'm the only one in this room that has said that. But I thought that was a pretty good quote from Jesus on the cross, because I have felt like that. I have felt there's been a time in my life, 2 or 3 times, where I felt like I was being forsaken until I questioned it. And then I realized God doesn't do it. God just is. This is a lesson I wish I could teach 157 times a year. God just is. And what is God? God says, I am. And they said, what is the I am? Love. End of discussion. Quit trying to put skin on God. Quit trying to think that God's going to be happy if you do this and mad if you do that. God just is. Just is. And that's why when that minister said 30 years ago that you are loved just the way you are, no matter what you've done, what you did last night, and what you're going to do today, God still loves you. And I sat there because I had my old wineskins on, and I said, oh, no, he wouldn't love me, because if he only knew what I did, right? Breathe, Casty. Constantine reminded us of this in this video. He kept catching himself and kept trying to go back to love and having empathy for the Russian soldiers who are so young and don't even know why they're there, other than if they don't go there, they fear persecution. He reminded us of that. So how does that represent your life? Think about the little ways that we go about our day and we don't even know that we're persecuting ourselves. You have free will. Question your thoughts. Question your beliefs. Question your fear. Question your worry. Question your anger. Because it's so important to move it. Move it back to love. I'm going to end, because I'm going to end on something that I didn't even know existed. The United Nations has a World Happiness Report. Let's see what it said. During a pandemic, wars, and high inflation, there is some good news for humanity. Benevolence is surging globally. So says the United Nations in its World Happiness Report. There has been a big increase in volunteering, donating to charities, and helping a stranger. Trust in others in rising to these bad times. People are working together. Yes, it's in the United Nations World Happiness Report. But yet, what do we focus on? We focus on that person who is really bugging the heck out of me this week, that I wish I could just remove out of this continent. It's true, don't we? We focus on the black speck on a white wall. There's black specks. And what do we see? The black specks when there's this whole white wall. Read and look up good news reports. Look up happiness reports. You need that during this time, because you've got to remember there are a lot of good people out there, and a lot of good is happening. And I'm visioning that this line here that says volunteerism is increasing, that we're going to have more volunteers here at church, so that I don't have to make the coffee for fellowship, and that I don't have to help run sound, and that I don't have to help do the weddings and all that anymore. So I'm just seeing volunteers showing up like crazy because you joyfully want to, right? Just because. That's enough, Kathy. So with that, I close with Namaste. And for those of you that just need to be reminded, that means that the Christ presence in me, as I look at each and every one of you, that Christ's presence in me truly sees and honors at Christ's presence in each and every one of you. Namaste.